There was some Lucky Dube song, but it was about either Born to Suffer or something like that. That song traumatized me. It is a good song, but every time I listen to it, I would be overwhelmed with grief. I would cry, I would be sad, but I kept wondering why, what's going on with this song after I identify that that song actually affects me, and yet it's just a song. And then it took me back. When I was younger, this song used to play a lot in the radio station at the time when I was struggling, at the time when we were really struggling in life. Hi, welcome. This is a place where together we walk through life after the death of a loved one. I am Theodorah, and today I'll be sharing how to find who you are. This can be for someone who is walking through grief, or it can be for someone who just wants to find who they are. Who I was defined by the shadows of my father's death or the choices of his life. That I had to deliberately take a step to find who I was. Death of a loved one can't change you. It can change who you are. Even if you knew who you are, the death of your loved one will make you lose yourself, make you forget who you are, that you have to slowly walk up and find who you are again or be reborn. Everyone's grief journey is unique. It can be as complex as mine was, or just different. You might be still experiencing trauma from witnessing the accident your loved one was involved in, still hearing the sounds of the hospital monitors beeping even after several months or years of their passing on. Or you could still be experiencing nightmares from the passing on of your loved one. You might be going through all this and more. But I want to tell you, dear, it is possible to walk past this. You might be also experiencing some pains like I was experiencing. I had some excruciating pain in my chest that I couldn't describe, and it would hinder me from breathing in or out, and in most times I would only wish that, God, this is not the day that I go. I do not know what you're going through, but I want to tell you that you can walk past whatever you're going through, because I am evidence. I am here today because I crossed that line. I made it, and so will you make it. And I believe that one day you'll be sharing your story, and it will help someone walk through their grief journey, just as I share mine today, if you choose to. However long your grief journey is, whether it's decades, a couple of weeks or months, I urge you, my friend, do not forget who you are. Remember who you are. If you haven't thought about it, this could be the time you define and find who you are. Finding who I was saved me. Finding who I was defined life for me. And finding who I was then and who I am today has been defined by the spiritual journey I took. And my spiritual journey has been the center of all that shaped and helped me overcome my grief journey, as I'll share it next week. Finding who I was that light that I needed to get over grief. For so long I had lived as that little orphaned girl who did not have so much privileges in life, that sad girl who missed the father, that sad girl who was bitter because of what life threw at her, who did not have the security of a father to protect her or to guide her in life. That left a void in my life that I had to seek things to fill. For so long, I lived like that. But there came a point in my life that I said, enough is enough. That finding who I was saved my future. It saved my life. It's not an easy journey, but it's a life-saving journey. I can describe it as the pain that I went through in the time when I would struggle to breathe and just hope for one breath, just one breath, one big breath. And when I got it, I was so grateful for it. That is how I can describe how overcoming grief is to me. That big fresh air that you have struggled for so long to get, and when you get it, you value what you have. That is how I can define finding who you are. It is that pushes you forward to living what life should be for you, not defined by your current state, not defined by the loss and death of your loved one, but it defines what you need. It defines what life will be for you. Not knowing who you are is like going on a journey without a destination, or going to a very new place without a map. How will you get there? You make wrong stops, and in those wrong stops, those are the choices we make out of ignorance, and they cost us so much. Some of them have costed others their life, but I pray that you don't get there. I'll be sharing how I found who I was in the form of questions, because how I found who I was at the point in my life where I was mostly alone. I was like in isolation, where I talked so much to myself. I had deep conversations with myself. I had sincere conversation with myself. And in that point, I came to know who I was. Isolation is good if it's for building you, but it can be dangerous if you're using it for other things. I'll share just a few questions because of time, but I'll share most of them in the description below, and maybe another time I could just make a video, generalized video of finding who you are. I remember the very first question I asked myself was, who are you? Who are you if they cut out everything, if they took away your father, took away the relationships you have around you? Who are you? And I was lost. I did not have an answer. I was blank. And what kept popping up was a sad, miserable, and lonely person who cries all the time, who had no friends to count on. Everyone was their friend, but had no one to call in time of need. Had no one to call to comfort them. But I slowly filled in this part as I asked several questions. For instance, I asked myself, do you have any standards, values, or virtues? I was like, what? What is this? And it took me to reflect. Everything else I had was either someone led me to it and I adopted, or I followed because someone else did it. But then I said, yes, I need a standard for my life. And I wrote down everything else that I wanted and everything else that had to stop. And with that, I had to take action because some of them required bold action. I had to break relationships. I had to stop doing certain things because now I was at a point of building my values, my virtues, my standard, that as a Koth, as Theodorah, this is what I will do and this I will not do. It doesn't matter if it pleases someone or displeases them. And this was so important to me. I could say that it's not what I did in one day. I did it over a period of time because some things are easier written than done. Some things are hard to break. It takes a while. This takes me to the part of what thrills do you engage in to take your mind out of grief? I was a super gamer. I played games. I played Age of Empires, I played Plant vs. Zombies, I played Scrabble, I played chess, I played several games. And I was so good at them. But this almost cost me my job because at one point in my life, I was in a very important meeting and I was playing games. It almost cost me my job. And I had to reflect on how to get over it. Because now I was addicted to playing games. I had to uninstall. I uninstalled all from my phone. After a while, brought them back. After a while, uninstalled. And the cycle continued. But there came a time when I said, I have to prioritize because there's some things that are more urgent than the game. I don't know what it is for you, but I know you can do it. You can start by keeping off, taking out whatever puts you into temptation to do whatever it is. It won't be easy, but it takes a lot of effort and never giving up. The other question that I asked myself was, what are the things that you delight in? The things that make you happy? And for me it was so like, that one came so fast. And I was even shocked. I loved to write. I loved to garden. I loved to listen. And I was surprised that I had so many beautiful things with me that I would channel my efforts in. But I was focusing on what I couldn't even touch and was defining my life. So with this, I channeled my efforts and it would keep me off grief. That whenever I was gardening, writing or listening to someone, I didn't have to think about grief. And I also asked myself, are you the only orphan in the world? Are you the only one who is going through these things? It could be sometimes an intimidating question. Sometimes, painful. Because you're like, how can you turn against yourself? But I asked myself that question. And it took me to reflect on the people who were orphans and were in my life. It is true, several of them were struggling, were worse than I was. But there were also very many of them who had succeeded. And those who succeeded gave me the motivation, said, if they have made it, I will make it. I will not blame anyone for anything, and I will not use being an orphan as an excuse to hurt myself, to destroy my future, and to also disorganize other people. So I got my act together and started working on, we are not blaming anyone for anything, but we are going to do what we can by the grace of God to overcome. Then maybe the last question for today, the one I asked myself was, what are the things that you can change? And what are the things you cannot change? It put me to a point whereby it took me to reflecting on myself. What are the things in my life that I can change? What are the things in my life that I can work on that can help me walk past the things that I cannot change. And that was a good thing for me. It made me work on myself so much that anything external wouldn't affect me. Or maybe I could just add on top of this, what are your triggers? I remember there was some Lucky Dube song, but it was about either Born to Suffer or something like that. That song traumatized me. It is a good song, but every time I listen to it, I would be overwhelmed with grief. I would cry, I would be sad, but I kept wondering why, what's going on with this song after I identify that song actually affects me, and yet it's just a song. And then it took me back. When I was younger, this song used to play a lot in the radio station at the time when I was struggling, at the time when we were really struggling in life. So every time I listened to it, it just made me not be myself. And it's not like I play it, no. Even when I walk on the streets and I hear it, for some reason my mood would just change, like it would just flip. But when I got to know that song has an effect on me, I looked inside and said, that is just a song. It doesn't define who I am. I even have no relation with whoever sang it. It is just a song. I don't know how it went, but I tried to cancel myself not to let that song get into me. I'll add the other questions in the description I thank you so much for joining with me this day. Thank you for always returning. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and also share this video with someone who might need it. Till next time, thank you.